I'm Greg Tepper. That's Greg Powers. And this is This Week
in Quinton.
It's This Week in Recruiting. Reunited, and it feels so good. With Greg Powers, Next Level Athlete. Follow him on Twitter. GPowerScout. Follow Next Level Athlete on Twitter. Next Level D1. See his fine work at texasfootball.com/recruiting. And, of course, this reunion episode is brought to you by our good chicken friends at Chicken Express. Chicken Express. Their logo is a chicken flying through the air.
Super chicken.
Have you ever seen the Chicken Express 18-wheelers? Legitimately, that's a good question.
No, I don't think I.
It's a giant yellow 18-wheeler, and the whole back portion of the actual truck is nothing but the super chicken.
Love it.
Like the whole length of the truck is the super chicken.
Love
so
it.
That's mega super chicken.
I also love that I think the chicken may be wearing goggles. It's great. it's a good logo. This week in recruiting with Greg Powers, Next Level Athlete. Hi, Powers.
Hey.
Let's start with our prospect on the rise, shall we?
Let's do it.
Prospect on the rise is Arlington Seguin at tackle Quinton Harris. All 6'6", 280 of them. Don't stand in his way. He picked up an offer this week from SMU. He went on an official visit, and he goes, works for me. I'll commit. And so he is heading to SMU. He already had an offer from Kansas. SMU comes calling, an opportunity to stay home. He takes it. He has committed Quinton Harris, the newest member of the SMU Mustangs class.
And Seguin's got some guys that are really coming up in the recruiting world. As a matter of fact, Xavion Bryce picked up an offer from Texas this week as well. So they've been busy, and this is a guy with an extremely high upside. And as we watch his tape, you're going to kind of see that he's long and he has the frame that a lot of college coaches would look for, and really started to develop and come into his own. He's a guy who got reps as a sophomore, so he was on our radar pretty early and, had a scouting report, but just now started to develop the strength and power to be a bona fide guy that a school like SMU would look into, and the timing just synced up perfectly where he made his unofficial trip up to Dallas. They got to be able to see him in person, get a verified height and weight, and see what his body's morphed into, throughout the last time. Heck, it's been a year and a half since colleges have really been able to see these guys in person, and now there's just so much news happening, and so many guys I think are going to come out of the woodwork like this who have really developed into what we would consider to be like top-tier type of prospects. And we'll get to see and evaluate them more and more as time goes by, but there's a lot of things that are changing in the recruiting world just kind of based around visits and the eyeball test, the good old eyeball test. It's ever important, and things are going to change just because coaches get a chance to do that.
He's probably the headliner on what is a very, very big Arlington Seguin offensive line. They've got
pretty impressive looking at these guys up front.
270, 255, 280 are their three returning starters. Plus they've got a junior at 6'2", 250. So they got some beef up there with the Cougars, and now an SMU commit with their
jersey
tackle.
game is strong too.
Yeah, I like that. The kind of teal pants, the light blue pants, very good. Let's now move on to our commit of the week. Commit of the week is a little hard to explain. So there's a multifaceted here. Okay, talking about cornerback Marcus Scott II. Marcus Scott II is the number 57 prospect in the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Hot 100 on texasfootball.com/recruiting. He was committed to LSU. He's a cornerback. Was committed to LSU. He has switched colleges, going across the SEC from LSU to Missouri. That's one note of this. The other thing we were able to confirm is that he is switching high schools. He was a big part. He's a burner. He was a big part of the Woodlands College Parks 4x4 relay team. Led them to a title?
Yep, state championship.
Now he is going to play for Conroe for his senior season. So however you want to classify him, the 2022 prospect, Marcus Scott, I guess now Conroe cornerback, Marcus Scott II, is now committed to the Tigers of Mizzou, not the Tigers of LSU.
As I update the graphic.
There you go.
And you'll remember just a few weeks ago, we had him as our featured recruit interview on this show. And he was a guy who was really high on LSU, right? So it was a little bit of a shock in some regards that he's made the decision to commit to another Tigers in the SEC in Missouri. But as a Missouri grad, you have to be pretty excited, I think, about a guy like Marcus Scott coming in and playing at that school, because he is that type of dude. 6'2", 170. He has the size, dream size for a guy who can run, flip his hips, hang with receivers. They don't often come in 6'2" packages. It's a rarity. Usually these guys grow and develop into safeties, but Marcus Scott has a unique set of skills that I think lets him stay on the island as he transitions to the next level. And this is just a monster pickup in the Lone Star State for Missouri, a school that I feel like needs to have traction in Texas to put together the right roster to compete in the SEC. There's a lot of good players in Missouri. There's some in Kansas and
not enough.
Yeah, they'll go to Georgia, they'll go to Florida some, but I think Texas could be a very fertile recruiting ground for them.
Well, not to get too far into the Missouri weeds here for a moment, but one thing that I think is interesting is if you want to say that I think their move to the SEC was more important to the long-term sustainability of their football program than A&M's move. What I mean by that is it gave them a way, and I know they're in the Big 12 with Texas and all the other teams in the state of Texas, but it to me gave them a little bit more of an inroad to come into the state of Texas and kind of wield that SEC, that SEC mallet, so to speak.
Right.
They were able to come in and do that, and so this is, and you're exactly right. There are a good number of players, most notably in St. Louis and Kansas City, but there are not enough for them to sustain a program. And so it's important for them to get guys like Marcus Scott, who's going to be a new Mizzou Tiger.
Just to put a number on it, I mean, I think I would feel comfortable. They need to come and get 4 to 5 guys every year.
Yeah.
And this is a guy that I think that you could look at and say, you know what, Nick Bolton was in that same probably 50 to 75 range in-state 3-star guy when he signed with Missouri to go on to be drafted into the NFL. I think Marcus Scott could be that type of guy, and he's a legitimate guy that's in that 4-star top 50 discussion.
Well, and that's the perfect thing for, recruits, too, that just want to get out of the state of Texas. Some people do not want to stay here, and that's a good selling point of, hey, it's out of the state, but it's not that far.
You can still play in the state of Texas. And so, it's an interesting situation there with Conroe cornerback Marcus Scott. He's changing all sorts of schools. We're talking This Week in Recruiting with Greg Powers, Next Level Athlete, here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation at #TF Today. Let's go to our Underclassmen of the Week. Underclassmen of the Week, let's go to the DFW Metroplex to Haslet Eaton, to VR Eaton High School. Talk about their tight end, Jaden Platt. Jaden Platt, 6'5", 235, and he is he's on a bit of a roll. Okay, he attended a camp in Ames, Iowa, got an offer from Iowa State. Very nice. Very quickly.
Yep.
Texas Tech's like, me too. Florida State, me too. A&M, me too. Oklahoma State, me too. Here's a guy. Was he on the varsity last year?
If he got varsity reps, it was limited, and Haslet Eaton has done something to me unique with a couple of their prospects, and I think it's a great message, and this is why I wanted to really feature Jaden Platt. Is Hunter Erb didn't play on the varsity team much as a sophomore either.
That's wild.
So he's a big time recruit, 4-star guy, committed to Texas A&M, had to earn his stripes playing down on the JV team. Not only to earn his stripes, but to get the necessary reps, I think, that helped turn him into that guy. Yeah. And they've done a similar thing here with Jaden Platt as well. It's just a unique thing that they're doing there, and it's now worked out great in back-to-back classes. I guess we're a little bit of back-to-back classes. Hunter Erb and Jaden Platt. So 2 guys that have followed a similar roadmap, and it's something that you don't hear about that often.
No, you really don't, but it's a very interesting situation. And so part of me wonders, this also makes sense to me in the sense that, the timing, that here's a guy who, let's say, if he does have varsity tape, he doesn't have a lot of varsity tape.
Right.
And
I haven't seen a varsity clip yet.
Yeah.
Maybe one.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but colleges ain't looking at JV tape.
Right.
No.
So he doesn't have any. He has very, very, very limited at most varsity tape. He goes to Iowa State at a camp and shows college coach. That's the first time these college coaches are looking at him, and they go, "Oh, okay, yeah, we want some of that." And then the whole, I don't want to say copycat thing, but basically word gets out. that they've got that there's this kid at Haslet Eaton. That's a very interesting way of going about it. But for Eaton, look, obviously they want to build a program where it's like, we want you to get the seasoning on the JV, because even if he was really, I'm sure he could have seen some time at the tight end spot on the varsity spot on varsity.
Sure.
He's getting more reps. I don't think there's any way around him getting more reps playing at the JV level.
Well, 6'5", 235 sells itself, right? Whenever you go to a camp and you walk in, you're 6'5", 235. Where I think the JV tape can come in valuable for Platt is you walk through the doors at 6'5", 235, look great in a camp setting. They pop on the tape and they can see that, oh, well, this guy's lining up at wide receiver and he can run a little bit too. Mm-hmm. He moves really well. So I think that you can reinforce what you saw in person based around some JV tape and see what these guys are doing. But what is really getting Jaden Platt out there is his in-person performance. And he's one of these guys who, 6'5", 235 is big. He has pretty good footwork for a guy that big. And he has some training tapes on his Twitter and social media where you can go and see him, working with his private coaching and that kind of stuff and see how he really moves. But he is one of those guys who's going to be quite special. And you can see that offer list really start to take off. Everywhere he's camped, he's pretty much getting an offer.
Let's round it all out with our Recruit of the Week. Our Recruit of the Week, this is probably the biggest recruiting story of the week. Is that fair?
I mean,
it's up there.
It's a busy week.
It's a busy week, it's true. But one of the headlines revolves around 2022 Garland wide receiver Jordan Hudson. Jordan Hudson is the number 29 prospect in the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Hot 100 at texasfootball.com/recruiting. He's got 21 offers from all over the place. He was committed to Oklahoma. You'll notice the tense of that verb. He is decommitted from the Sooners and has opened his recruitment back up. And you're not here making a prediction, but
no,
you have a lean.
Well,
you have a team that you're keeping an eye on.
SMU's running hot with Jordan Hudson right now, and Rashad Samples has built a great relationship with him. And if you haven't checked it out, check out DCTF's 2021 40 under 40 list. Coach Rashad Samples was one of those names on that list. He's one of the top recruiters in this area, and I think SMU is a school to watch in this recruitment. And it's quite interesting to see what SMU's been able to do with some of these top recruits, in especially the Metroplex. Mm-hmm. They've really done a really good job of getting guys interested in their brand, wanting to come play for SMU. And if they can get Jordan Hudson over the likes of offers from Oklahoma, Texas, Alabama, that's really saying something to me. They did sign the state's most heavily offered man last year in Preston Stone. I think he had more offers than anybody else, so that was like a benchmark for them to set, and they had a really good class last year. But they are predominantly now a school that a lot of these big-time transfers look to go to.
Yes.
So spots in their recruiting class are going to be tight. Mm-hmm. And they now have an opportunity to target and really put a lot of time investment in going after elite players in the state of Texas. And this is one of those guys. Texas and TCU are also going to be in play here. He's got 21 offers. He could go, basically one of these guys who can pick his school, right? So it's not over by any means, but look for him to take a visit possibly to SMU this weekend, and I think they put themselves in a good spot here.
Very interesting. He's Greg Powers, Next Level Athlete. Follow him on Twitter, GPowerScout. Follow Next Level Athlete on Twitter. Next Level D1. See his fine work at TexasFootball.com/recruiting. Next week, buddy, we're going to be in these chairs next to each other, hopefully, knock on wood. And we'll be talking State 7-on-7, right?
We will, and we'll also be in a serious food hangover from a delicious dinner at Bob's.
So pumped.
You want to stick around for the 2A ranking?
Let's do it.
All right. Hey, thanks for watching this clip here on YouTube. If you like this kind of stuff and you want more of it, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And remember, you can watch us live every weekday at noon at TexasFootball.com, Facebook, Twitch, or here on YouTube. And if you want more of the best coverage of football in the state of Texas, check out TexasFootball.com and become a Dave Campbell's Texas Football Insider at TexasFootball.com/subscribe.